I am a volunteer with the Dan River Basin Association, and I do a lot of water monitoring for them based on dipping up macroinvertebrates out of the stream. And macroinvertebrates are little creatures that live in all our freshwater streams. We're here beside the Smith River, and all these creatures are right there in that river. And there are 19 different types of macroinvertebrates that live in all our freshwater streams. We refer to this as a tub of bugs. Not all, but most of these macroinvertebrates, they all have individual names, but most of them live there. Some of them live their entire life in the stream. Most are the larval or nymph stage of a flying insect, but they begin their life as an aquatic insect living in the water. And they like to cling to rocks and sticks and things that are on the bottom of the stream. And if you go to a stream, and if you take a rock and roll it up real slow, you may find that you'll see macroinvertebrates. Right here we have a snail, and this little guy, see how camouflaged he is? That's a stonefly. And it certainly does not look like a fly now, but when it grows up to be an adult, it will be a fly. You can see the water a little bit better. When they're in the stream and they live on the bottom, they love the riffle areas of the stream where the water is tumbling over the rocks, and that incorporates a lot of oxygen into the water, and that's what these creatures like, is high levels of oxygen in the water. So this particular one is called a true fly. That will turn into an actual living flying insect that will probably buzz around your head sometime during the summer and be aggravating, but right now it's an aquatic insect, aquatic larva. Types of pollution that affect these creatures are three main kinds. Sediment, which is mud or dirt; toxins, which are poisons; or nutrients, such as fertilizer, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, plant nutrients. If an excess amount of those nutrients are in the water, then it's very likely that they will occupy some of the oxygen, use up some of the oxygen in the water, lessening the amount of dissolved oxygen. That will reduce the incidence of these bugs being in the water, and you'll find not only less of them, but you'll find mostly the ones that are intolerant. Macroinvertebrates are living on the bottom of the stream. Their actual full name is benthic macroinvertebrate, which means bottom dwelling. Go in and we disturb the bottom of the stream just by moving the rocks around, and that upsets the macroinvertebrates, makes them let go, and then the water washes the bugs into the net. Once I have them in the net, I simply pick it up and I bring it to wherever my container is that I'm going to put them into, and I pick out the ones that I want to catch. So here we have a gilled snail, and you can see the opening where the snail actually crawls out. That's called the operculum, and then the helix of his shell is upward. And for you, those of you looking from the camera, the opening is more to the right side of the snail. And if it's a right side, then it's always a gilled snail, no exceptions. If this snail had the reverse of this, the helix twisted the other way, and this operculum was on the left side, you would have a lung snail. And here we've got a picture of both. Here's the gilled snail that I'm holding. See how camouflaged this guy is? And we've got a snail hiding there. So here is what's known as a helgramite. And a helgramite has a very nasty set of pincers on its head. You know, it can bite you a little bit, but it also has, if you can see, the white tufts all the way down its abdomen at every juncture of an appendage. Those are his gills. That's how he gets his oxygen out of the water. But this guy is very small. He'll be living in the water for several years, and he'll end up being at least as big and as long as my finger. And then when he has his terrestrial stage of his life, it will become a Dobson fly, a huge winged insect compared to the little larva that we have here. It's quite a difference. Everybody's probably familiar with the dragonfly as an adult. It has wings and can fly around very rapidly up and down the side of a stream or a pond. But it begins as a larval stage and looks very different from the adult. The vertebrates that we have here in the tub is the crayfish, and they're always the favorite because they're really spooky looking up close. They have 2 great big claws and 6 true legs. Their gills are under their abdomen, and if you can tell, I'm moving a little filament around, if you can see it moving at all. This one's really small. He has little long filaments there that is what he pulls his oxygen out of the water with. They also have, because they're a macroinvertebrate, they have no skeletal structure inside their body. You and I have bones. We've got really soft skin, but we've got bones that help us stay upright and protect us from falls and everything. The crayfish, being an exoskeleton, does not have any internal bone structure, no skeleton. He has what's known as an exoskeleton, which is a really hard exterior covering. I don't know if you could hear that or not, but you can tap on the plastic here and get a loud sound. You can do the same to this exoskeleton on this crayfish. It's very hard. All right, another interesting thing about our freshwater streams, we're here during the fall of the year, and you may have seen in the background leaves falling. Well, there's a lot of leaves and sticks that land in the river, but you hardly ever see them. Why is that? Part of the reason is not just because they wash away, they still get hung up on the rocks. These creatures, some of them are called shredders and chewers. They actually live on the downed leaves and sticks are actually food for some of these macroinvertebrates. So they're chewing that up, those nutrients and organic matter up, and using that as a food source. That's one reason you don't see, our rivers are not clogged with. Another one, there are several, but another one that we'll talk about is temperature pollution. If you can see the stream here around us has a lot of shade and a lot of trees along the stream bank, but there's an area here without any vegetation whatsoever, just a little bit of short grass. Well, with that, if you've got long stretches of that along the stream, then the sunshine can just penetrate right to the water and warm it up. And if you warm up the water, well, we talked about these bugs being food for trout. A trout will perish in water that gets above 70 or 72 degrees Fahrenheit. So if the fish are dying, then some of these bugs are going to die also. So temperature is another form of pollution that can work on the stream. So when we do macroinvertebrate sampling, then that's a form of biological sampling. And that simply means we're using the living organisms in the stream as indicators of the health of the water. So